Hello everyone and welcome back to some more Warcry for the channel, and in today's battle report the Iron Golems are going up against Nurgle's Rotbringers, and this series is available first to channel members. So hello channel members, thank you so much for the extra support you're willing and able to show the channel. It helps keep this possible. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And everyone else, when you see this in about a week to 10 days later, hello to you as well. That'll be about Halloween time, I think. So happy Halloween. Anyway, let's go look at the sides. And let's start with the Iron Golems, broken into Dagger, Hammer, Shield, 3-3-2. So going from camera left, we have the Dominar backed up by an Ogre Breacher and a single Iron Legionnaire with his standard Axe plus Shield. In the Hammer, we've got the little Murder Machine Armator. Well, I would like to believe he's a murder machine, but usually just dies. The Signifier in the middle there, and then at the back, a second Iron Legionnaire with Shield and assorted weapon. Then, finally, in the Shield, we have the two with the bolas, so we have the Drill Master who's at the front, and then just an Iron Legionnaire with bolas who's trying to show off to her at the back there. And for the Rotbringers, we're having to pull out a little bit because there's a Puscoil Blightlord here, except he's not this time just his bog standard self, because as it turns out there is a hero version of a Puscoil Blightlord called the Lord of Afflictions. And he is a massive 320 points on his own. He's got like 45 wounds. So that's what that model is going to represent. It's actually pretty similar to the one that you're actually supposed to use to represent the Lord of Afflictions. He's just missing the bigger banner, really. And I think he's holding like a guy instead of having a tentacle hand. But the tentacle hand is better because it's looter. Anyway, so he's part of the Dagger alongside just a Blight King with Putrid Weapon. Dagger, Hammer. So in the Hammer, the one with the Saunders Toxin is just counting as having a standard blighted weapon this time. Not enough points to fit in the bell, so he's just a standard weapon, and he's with another Blight King that is also using just a standard plague weapon. So they're just normal, so just because the model's available, the one with the bell, he's not special, it's not the Sonorous Toxin. And then finally in the Shield we have the other hero presence, who's the Rotbringer Sorcerer, and he is backed up by two Blight Kings that both have filth encrusted shields. You know what they've been doing before the battle. That comes to 995 points, with a massive chunk of them, a third basically, taken up by just the hero there. We'll see if that was worth it. The normal Puscoil Blightlords are really good. I'm not super convinced the extra points are worth it for this hero, but hey, we'll see. Let's go randomize our mission. And so it begins with, what is our actual mission? Let's go for this one. Blunt. Doesn't ring a bell. I feel like I would have made fun of that name in the past. The players roll off and the winner chooses who's attacker and who's defender. If every fighter on the defender's shield is taken down, the attacker wins the battle. Otherwise, after the end of the fourth battle round, the defender wins. Well, that's simple. Any fighters from the defender's shield that are within 4 inches of the battlefield edge at the end of a battle round immediately count as being taken down. Okay, so that does have the little qualifier, but some of them don't have in these old cards, but this one does. So they can't stay within 4 inches. Alright, and let's see if the shields are even on the table to start with, because the shields are often one of the slower ones to arrive on these layouts. Let's go for this one. Blood Rush. Everybody's on the table from the start of the game. Oh, that's fun. A blunt blood rush. Sounds like a nightmare drug scenario, but let's ignore that and see what our twist is, because we're doing a twist. Our twist will be this one. Eerie Silence. This twist card has no effect. Fair enough. So it's a blunt blood rush with an eerie silence. That really is like a nightmare blood rotation. Excellent, that's what we're doing today. We'll get this set up and be back after a quick word from my channel sponsor. This video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. Check out the video description below for an affiliate link that will take you through to their store, and it will help me out as well. Thanks. And we're back with both sides set up. The Rotbringers on the top end of the table and the Iron Golems towards the camera. After the roll off, the Rotbringers won the roll to decide attacker defender. They chose attacker because the shield for the Iron Golems is just the Drill Master and then the Legionnaire with the Iron Bolas. So down here, in other words, these two are the targets. The Nurgle side has 4 turns in which to murder these two. Otherwise, it is an Iron Golems win. And we are using the rules for the bridges, with the rickety one being in the middle and the reinforced ones being at the 2 diagonals there. So you can see where everyone is. Everyone is on the table from the very start. And yeah, Iron Golems are just going to look to play defensively, which I think, as I kick the camera, is in their favour. So with that, let's jump into the first turn. And here's how the dice shook out for turn 1, with the Iron Golems rolling a natural double 1 and then turning a single 6 into a double with their wild die. The Rotbringers had a double 4, double 1, and then made a double 5 because they're looking to do a lot of rushes to try and get into position. They're very slow. So they wanted that, which means they only had one single left, so it will be the Iron Golems going first. So remember, it is at the end of any battle round that the targets from the blunt victory condition get killed if they're within 4 inches of a battlefield edge, not just the later stages of the game. So they kind of need to make sure they are not accidentally too close to any edge of the table by the end of round 1. And on that note, the Legionnaire with the bolas, one of the 2 targets, has double moved into this room here. There is 2 ways into this room. The big entrance here, the slightly smaller one over there. And that is going to be the room they hunker down in and hopefully get defended by the rest of their team. First up for the Rotbringers was one of the Blighted Weapon wielding Blight Kings up the top here. Spent a double on rush and then moved a total of 8 inches towards this doorway here. For the purposes of being able to move through these doorways, their base size is counting as being able to fit. The Lord of Afflictions, however, does not. They only have one route they can take to get where they need to be, and that's down the middle. The Signifier did 2 standard 4-inch moves, the first ending him still touching wholly on the bridge. Had to check to see if it became weakened. That is his roll, a 3, so it is still fine. It becomes weakened if he rolls a 1. The other Blight King with Putrid Weapon, represented by the one with the bell, activated and used another double for rush and basically just followed suit, turned slightly so that he can fit in there nice and snugly. The other target of Nurgle's Ire, the Drillmaster herself, activated and is also hidden in that room because that's basically the only place they can hide, and they just have to hope that that's enough. The Iron Legionary with shield that started here next to the Dominar and Ogre Breacher activated and did 2 4-inch moves, cutting through the room that the targets are hiding in, looking to obstruct. Remember, the ones with the shield have a pretty good toughness for such a cheap model. It's just their offensive capabilities are kind of rubbish, but they're toughness 5, which is really good for such a cheap model. The Lord of Afflictions sprung into action as fast as anything associated with Nurgle can spring into something, spending their last set of doubles on rush to give him 7 inches of movement, so by Nurgle standards he is actually kind of fast. 6 base boosted to 7, and that got him fully across the rickety bridge, so he did not need to check whether or not it fell apart. And remember, if the rickety bridge collapses while you're on it, you're just dead. So he got lucky, because that would be a right shame to lose 300 points to lava. Remember that one time when the Ogre Breacher did that and fell? Anyway, he has range 2 on that gigantic blighted weapon of his, scythe in this case. So he swung it, and he had his choice of targets. He opted for the Dominar, because the Dominar is faster and weaker than the Ogre Breacher. Actually, they move the same, but he's weaker for sure. Less wounds, less toughness. And did okay. He's swinging with a 3/5 weapon, 4 attacks at strength 5 versus toughness 4. He got a crit in 2 hits. And that is 9 damage. No, it's a 9 damage. No, that is not 9 damage. That's entirely wrong. That's 11 damage. I can't count. That was 11 damage. So he has slightly more damage than thought, and he only has 20 wounds in total, so he has 9 left. I must excuse my own math by pointing out that I was looking at Lord of Blights, not Lord of Afflictions, so that's where I saw the 2/5 and thought, yeah, that's 9. This 3/5 is right below it, but I just saw Lord of and assumed I was looking at the right profile. The number of attacks and strength were done correctly, though. The Ogre Breacher stepped up to defend the Dominar, moving into base to base with the Lord of Afflictions and then striking at him, using his updated stat card, not the one that actually shipped with Catacombs. He has 3 attacks now instead of 2, and he is hitting at strength 6 instead of strength 5, and he's actually cheaper than he used to be, although the points used are the newer point values, just to be clear, it's not the old point values. So yeah, he went down to, 220 from 235, I think. Anyway, so he's needing 3s, he managed to roll triple 5s, just because. So that is 12 damage of the Lord of Afflictions. Ridiculous 42, so 30 more to go. The Blight King that had started up by the Lord of Afflictions up here has moved twice, 3 inches each time, into, there's a doorway here, to kind of cut the corner, got that far, and is just heading around. The wounded Dominar fled from the Lord of Afflictions, moving, he wasn't engaged, so just moving 4 inches twice, and got there just outside the room with the targets inside. So there's only going to be movement actions left, so we're just going to cover them in groups. The Rotbringer Sorcerer to the top of your screen started on the left there with the 2 with shields, and has just moved 6 inches. He's in the middle row now with the Lord of Afflictions. Meanwhile, for the Iron Golems, the Armator activated, he only moves 3 inches, so he's like a Nurgle team. It's just because his legs are so little. And he crossed the bridge, but unfortunately, when he was crossing the bridge, he rolled a 1, so that is now a weakened bridge. So another roll by a model of 1 on there, they fall into the lava and they die. And from this angle we can basically see where everybody ended up, so let's just cover all the rest of those movements. The two Blight Kings with filth encrusted shields just followed behind the Sorcerer, so they both ended up there. And then the Iron Legionnaire down by Armator activated. He had to go across that bridge. He rolled a 2, so he narrowly avoided just plummeting into the lava and has ended up there next to the Signifier. So at the end of turn 1, this is where everybody's standing. It's a pure win or lose situation regarding the shield of the Iron Golems being defeated. And yeah, if you were thinking, well, why on earth did the Nurgle side not pick to be the defenders, it felt like it'd be too boring, because keep in mind the shield for the Nurgle side is the Sorcerer plus the 2 filth encrusted shields with their higher defense, ridiculous number of wounds, and also a room to hide in up there, so it felt like it would just be too easy. So that's why it feels more challenging and more fun to have chosen to be the attackers. Anyway, with that, let's go through to the dice of round 2. Here is the dice for turn 2. The Iron Golems rolled a double 5, which they have turned into a triple, and a double 1, leaving them with a 4 and a 2. And the Rotbringers rolled a double 5, and then they had a straight after that, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the double 5s. But they've turned the single 4 into a double, but they are still going first because they have the 3 singles left over. A bottleneck of some kind over here is inevitable, so it was important for the Rotbringers to make some ground before that happened. So one of the Blight Kings activated, used the double for rush, and has moved a total of 8 inches to there. He could have blocked the door, but he wants room for a second person to attack. One move from a Legionnaire who moves 4 inches will keep him within an inch, so he would count as engaged, so he will not be able to slip past him. Using his full updated stat card, the Ogre Breacher actually feels insanely OP because of just how damaging he is. He is well within his power level to kill the Lord of Afflictions with ease, unless you roll like that. Then not so much, although you still managed to do pretty well considering across 2 attacks of 3 attacks each. You rolled 4 1s, which are misses. You got a crit and a hit though, so that's another 12 wounds, just like that. Imagine if that had all been hits. It's insane he's stronger than so many heroes and like more expensive models. Like I say, he's down to 220 points from his original 235. Lord of Afflictions, he's hitting at strength 5, but strength 6 is just... It's insane how powerful the Ogre Breacher is. He is absolutely insanely powerful. So that is the Lord of Afflictions up to 24 wounds, so of his 42 it was. So he's feeling it. The other Blight King with not encrusted shield, the Blighted Weapon, represented by Bell, activated, used their other double for rush, and has moved up, and now they're both threatening the room with the objectives, the key room that they need to manage to get into somehow. The Signifier activated, moved a total of 8 inches, and has ended up right next to the Wounded Dominar. And it's a Blight King conga line up there, as the third one double moved, only 3 inches each time, no more dice left for rush, and has ended up in the doorway up there. And so they're the main strike force that has any chance of doing anything here. The Iron Legionary with shield activated and moved right there, so you can enjoy the sight of the Ogre Breacher using that like ball with spike hands just battering a plague drone over and over. He's deliberately outside of the 2-inch range on the Lord of Afflictions, which I think I mistakenly said 1 inch earlier because I was looking at Lord of Blights again. Lord of Afflictions is 2 inches. So he's outside of that and he's just there to body block. It was time for the Lord of Afflictions to clap back against that Breacher, and did so across 2 attack actions, needing 4s because it's strength 5 versus toughness 5, and did fine, I guess. Across both attacks in total, got 3 normal hits through and 1 crit. That is 14 damage, which is equivalent to just shy of half his health, because he's a 31 model. So 15 would have been half, which isn't bad, I suppose, for one set of hits, but could have been better. The Armator activated, double moved for a total of 6 inches. He's just running down the hall with his weapons spread out at either side. It's like a kid wanting to catch up to the adults who are having all the fun. The Rotbringer Sorcerer did 2 movement actions for a total of 6, ending just before the rickety bridge and watching the fight happening between the Lord of Afflictions and the Ogre Breacher. The Wounded Dominar activated next for the Iron Golems, spending their double on rush because a 5-inch move got him round that corner there, and engaged with this Blight King here. 3 attacks at strength 5 versus toughness 4 with a 2/5 split. Didn't do too well, just got 2 normal hits through for 4 wounds of the Blight King's at 25. This Legionnaire with a shield has moved like half an inch, and it's just to block the doorway essentially, so you can't go round him, you have to go through him. and that means the last two activations for the Iron Golems are these two. They're not moving, so we're just going to show you where the final two Blight Kings end up. And those two Blight Kings have split up. One of them has gone through the side door here to head round where most of them are, and the other one is still following along behind the sorcerer he deployed with, so heading towards the rickety bridge, which may or may not be a mistake. I guess we'll have to see as we get ready to go into round 3. To cap off round 2, here's kind of a pulled back view, which I believe shows you where everybody has ended up. The Lord of Afflictions is heavily wounded, the Ogre Breacher is pretty wounded, the Dominar is pretty wounded, and one of the Blight Kings has had a little bit of damage. The two targets still unscathed, still cowering in a room next to a skeleton chained to a wall, and they have 2 more turns to live. And here is the dice for the penultimate turn of the game. The Iron Golems managed to roll a quad 2, which I believe only, as a quad at least, the Drillmaster can take advantage of. So that's probably not going to be seen, but hey, they also turned a single 6 into a double and have 1 left over. The Rotbringers rolled a natural 555 and have a natural double 3. They opted not to spend their wild die in order to get that first activation with priority, so they'll be activating first. Perhaps more out of spite than tactical viability, the Lord of Afflictions activated first to strike at the Ogre Breacher, because if the Ogre Breacher got to activate first, it's almost guaranteed the Lord of Affliction would die. So he attacked him because of limited dice, only the successes have been left behind to show you that. So first set of attacks was 2 successes normal and 1 crit, and then 2 other normals. So that adds up to 14. Which on top of, 17, right? Yeah, 17, because it's 4 attacks, it's 12 plus 5, yep, 17. I can do maths. 17 on top of the 14, that's why I had 14 in my head. The 14 he had is 31 on a 30 wound model. So the Lord of Afflictions won the fight. At what cost? Well, he's then spending their triple, the 555 they had, on unnatural regeneration, which all Nurgle Rotbringer forces have. A fighter can only use this ability if there are no enemy fighters within 1 inch. There is no longer, and he specifically stayed 2 inches away. Remove a number of damage points allocated to this fighter up to double the value of this ability. So he just healed 10 wounds, which is pretty nice. The Dominar activated first for the Iron Golems, and he actually has an updated stat card as well, so he has a base 4 attacks, not 3, so he didn't roll enough in his first turn. But either way, because of limited dice, only successes have been left behind, but he had a lot of successes, 5 normal hits through in total for 10 more damage to that Blight King. So before I continue, I forgot to mention that the Dominar spent their double for Onslaught, so he had 5 attacks in his first set, but his first set only. This Blight King, the one with the bell, activated, moved into combat with this Legionnaire, struck at him, spending their double on Onslaught, so hitting with 1 extra die for a total of 4. Only managed to get a crit through because he's strength 4 going up against toughness 5, so he needs 5s and 6s. So not great, still managed to get that crit through for 4 though of his 10 wounds, so that's the downside, they do only have 10 wounds, so they're not impossible to kill, but time is of the essence. The Armator ran into the room screaming with his weapons held aloft above his head and then just kind of stopped in the middle of the room watching what's happening. The Blight King that the Dominar has been picking on has activated and decided to strike back. Over here is the results. He got 2 normal hits, 2 crits and 2 misses, arranged very nicely. And that is enough to actually take him out because that is 12. He had 11 and he's a 20 wound model. So he is out of there. So that was maybe a mistake sending him in there, because that kind of frees up that Blight King for the 4th and final turn to maybe get in there. It'll all depend on whether or not that Legionnaire gets moved in 1 turn of attacks, I think. Well, the Signifier decided to put a stop to that, moving into combat with that same Blight King. By the way, the Signifier is a rare instance in terms of how the Iron Golems have been rebalanced since they were originally launched, of a model going up in costs. He went up from 120 to 125. For that though, he did gain 3 more wounds and 1 more attack. Everything else is the same. So yeah, he didn't roll that great, getting only a crit through for 4 damage. That's already been reflected in the total damage done to that Blight King, so he's up to 18. Yep, 18 of his 25. The Blight King that had been up at the door came down here as far as he could get, but there's a wall of meat in the way, so he's just as close as he can get. The bravest, stupidest Iron Legionnaire activated, moved into base to base with the Lord of Afflictions to lock him in combat, struck at him 2 dice, hitting on strength 3, needed 5s and 6s, didn't do anything, but locking him in combat does kind of limit where everyone else can move. So once again, the only 2 Iron Golem activations left are the 2 targets who are just going to stay put in the room. So we'll just move the Sorcerer and the 2 Blight Kings with Filth Encrusted Shields, since that's all they're going to be doing, and just show you where they end up real quick. All 3 decided to pivot to that door back up there to just try and get through here. It is unlikely that they're not going to make a difference in the final turn, unfortunately. It's just going to be the 3 Blight Kings who are already stuck in there, and even then I think it's going to be a tough ask. So at the end of the penultimate turn, here's just an overview of where everyone is hanging around. It isn't looking good that Nurgle's best are going to get in there and be able to even touch one of them, let alone kill both of them. But that is the price they pay for choosing fun over function, because yeah, if they had picked Defender, they would easily have won, and it would have been very boring. This is more exciting. So let's go into the dice for the final turn. And here they are. The Iron Golems rolled a natural double 2 and then just had a straight 3, 4, 5, 6 plus the 2, I guess, and turned a single 6 into a double. The Rotbringers had a triple 3, double 5. They've turned the double 5 into a triple, and they turned a single, because they had a wild die left over from last turn, into a double 6. So that is as it stands. The Iron Golems will be going first. Off to a bad start for the Rotbringers, as the Signifier was chosen and Onslaught was spent on his first attacks. So he had 5 on the first set and 4 on the second. Only successes left behind due to limited dice. 2 normals, 2 crits, and that is enough on top of the 18 damage he already had, because that is another 8, 9, 10, that's another 12. So that takes him well beyond his 25, and he is out of there. Might be the only casualty that the Nurgle side suffers, but it's one less person actually close enough to make a difference. And that, as they say, is sadly it, because it all came down to, could he take out that Legionnaire ideally in one set of attacks, or in a desperation play at least both, to get rid of him, and he couldn't. He spent their double for Onslaught, so 1 extra die on the first set of attacks, needing 5s and 6s, and got nothing. Second set, excuse the red die, limited dice as I said, he got 1 crit, so that's great, you know, that's 4 damage, on top of the 4 he has, that's 8, and he has 10 wounds, so he lived. And there's no way to do extra beyond that. I don't think he had access to a triple that would have done anything, since the only rune mark he has is just the Rotbringer rune mark. Oh, you know what? He could do Virulent Discharge, because he can spend a triple as a double. No, he can't, because he spent on Onslaught. Oh, I wonder if that was the play instead. You know, well, we're keeping what was chosen, because we're not allowed to retcon that. But let's say he hadn't done Onslaught, and he chose to do Virulent Discharge with a double, so spending a triple as a double. Pick a visible enemy fighter within 1 inch, roll a number of dice equal to the value of this ability. For each 4+, allocate 1 damage. The Onslaught attack had no successes anyway, so all he would have need, yeah, I should have thought that through. All he would need is out of 5 dice, 1 4+. That would have been a really good attack. That would have killed him if that was an attack. Yeah, so yeah, that would have been the better play. Virulent Discharge. After, say that had been the first attack roll, Virulent Discharge would have killed him. He then could have moved in, out of the way. It still would not have changed things, because they're both not going to die in 1 turn. But him failing completely, and also me not spotting the optimal power to use there, is going to cost. So I think we can safely say that Iron Golems are definitely winning. Before we go to some final thoughts though, I would like to see the Lord of Affliction absolutely decimate this poor Legionnaire to see if he can get through the defense 5 and 10 wounds, because that's funny to me. So let's do that. In total he'd be rolling 8 dice across 2 attacks, but let's see if 1 set of 4 is enough, because he's setting at strength 5 versus toughness 5, so at least he only needs 4s. So let's see. He got a hit and a crit. Is that enough on its own to get a kill? That would be 5, 6, 7, 8. Nope, that leaves him on 2 wounds. Would he kill a pathetic little 80 point or whatever Legionnaire? Yes, he would. He would have killed him. Just barely, with another hit and a crit getting through for another 8 wounds. Well, I say just barely, that's almost double his health. But it would have taken both actions. But yes, those Legionnaires with shields, they are such good blockers. Not that we're talking about Blood Bowl or anything, but they're just so good to just have in the way, because it's so rare to have such a cheap model have such high toughness. They're absolute garbage when it comes to dealing damage, but being able to take a couple of hits, or more, they're really good for that. And that is going to do it for another Warcry video on the channel. Please do remember to show your support. Just free stuff like liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing. That is all great, helps the algorithm, gets the videos out there, and that really helps. You could, if you can spare a little bit extra, become a channel member to get videos early, like this one, by 7 to 10 days usually, sometimes 2 weeks if I'm a bit too far ahead with how much I've been recording. Or you can check out the channel sponsor to pick up something for yourself. They carry basically every game I play, so they have most things you'll see on my table, and if you buy anything through that link I get compensated. Or if you can spare one off a little bit to help the channel, the thanks button is there, or anything like that. And Patreon as well. But anyway, thank you for watching. See you in the future for more Warcry. Until then, ta-ta for now.